everyone, Lock On here with this edition of Lock On's Nerdy News. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, nothing, I don't really have viewers yet. But if you were there, you'd be thinking, I played Skyrim last time. And yes, that is very true. But my excuse is, I've gotten quite addicted to it again. And it just seemed more fitting for this week's topic. This time, I'll be talking all about The Elder Scrolls Online, the upcoming MMO from Bethesda and ZeniMax Studios, and the next installment of the Elder Scrolls series. Now, without waiting, let's just jump right into everything I know about it. First off, they will involve all 9 provinces of Tamriel. Now, not all of those will begin at launch, as in they want to expand and do all sorts of things with add-ons and expansions, so that's reasonable. And from what they've said, the given area at launch will already dwarf the single-player games, and considering Skyrim before DLC was 16 square miles, that's pretty impressive. And I'm sure it's still going to be outstanding. I've also heard some other rumors, since we all know Bethesda loves expanding their games beyond reason. This could give them plenty of reason to expand to other continents of Tamriel, maybe even inductive new race into the Elder Scrolls series, and it's been a very long time since that has happened. I just hope it doesn't involve pandas. Alright, now speaking of those races, as MMORPGs tend to go, of course there are factions, everybody wants to kill somebody else, so let's talk about those. First off is the Daggerfall Covenant, the one I will most likely be involved with first. That includes the Breton, the Redguard, and the Orcs. Now, I've always loved magic in the Elder Scrolls series. My Battle Mage in Skyrim, as you saw in the last edition, is probably one of my favorite classes to play. And a good one of my friends also loves being an Orc as the badass warrior, so I think we'll fit in just fine with that. Next up is the Emmenheart Pact. That's the Argonians, the Nords, and the Dunmer. And then the one that everybody knows who's even touched Skyrim, the Aldmeri Dominion. Yeah, those assholes. They were still around 1,000 years ago. That involves the Altmer, the Bosmer, and the Khajiit. Next, let's talk combat. Now, that's one of the major things that's turned me off of other MMOs, like World of Warcraft, other than the boring questing system, just go find me 10 of these, okay, go kill 6 of these, blah blah blah. Well, the combat I've never liked was just, you point, you click, and then your guy just swings his weapon until, okay, she definitely deserves to die, I've known that before, and bam. But it seems they've definitely changed that with the Elder Scrolls Online, and that's definitely a plus in my book. They've taken the real-time combat from Skyrim, and they use that to inspire the combat system of the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, of course, they'll have to change it a bit to fit an MMO type. You'll still have your command bars, but they don't want you to essentially be playing your heads-up display. They want you to be playing the game and have it just move in a nice fluid motion. And aside from that, as anyone who has played an Elder Scrolls game, they don't want that cookie-cutter tanker, healer, DPS styled format where, the tank wears the heavy armor, the DPS has the, most powerful weapon and such, and the mages are just weak beyond reason. As in Skyrim and Oblivion and plenty of others, you choose whatever you like for your loadout, and you're only really restricted to what you bring to the battle. A mage can wear full heavy armor. You could be like me in this character as an orc, and again, full heavy armor with a 2-handed weapon, but I could easily just be a mage with that 2-handed weapon. There will also be crafting in the Elder Scrolls Online, letting you specialize in one of 5 crafts, or you can dabble in them all. I'm assuming there are things like alchemy, enchanting, smithing, and things like that. Now, one of the coolest things that involves the main quest is the end game. It ends with a massive three-way PvP battle for the throne of all of Tamriel. Cyrodiil is the only area that is PvP, and of course that is where the end game is, in massive 2,000-person battles between the three factions, in which whoever wins gets to crown a player as the emperor of the entire empire. Now, speaking of endgame, there is a max level set already. They have said that the max level will be level 50. That may expand with future expansions, but we'll see when that comes out. But something they are doing, once you hit level 50, you can initiate a 50 plus mode, essentially, where you can explore the areas of the other factions. So you can, if you're part of the Daggerfall Covenant, you can, once you're level 50 and you enter this mode, you can go visit the Somerset Isle and check out other areas, though you won't be able to make it fair, you won't be able to fight people from the other factions there. You'll be restricted to people of your own faction who are the same level you are. But with that, all the areas will be scaled up dramatically, and dungeons will have changed. You can get into certain areas of dungeons that the people who have gone in there before haven't been able to do. This isn't my room. Is this my room? Yes. Next up, Elder Scrolls has always had a thing for the first-person combat, just to get you completely immersed in this fantasy world. Now, most MMORPGs go into third-person. Why didn't they take me? Okay, I'll have to go somewhere else for the Dark Brotherhood, I guess. But it's recommended for third-person, so you can see around you, but something tells me first-person will just give you a much more visceral, immersive experience. Next up, they will be using massive mega servers, where everyone that's playing on a particular platform is playing together. There are no separate servers for different areas. It's just all one big server for Xbox One, one big server for PS4, and one big server for PC and Mac users. Let's talk a little bit about the gameplay now. There are synergies in the game, which is essentially combining abilities. Anyone who's played Dragon Age Origins, they can kind of get an idea of what this involves. Basically, an example would be a soldier could have a special ability to lay down some tar on the ground that will slow down your enemies, while a mage could follow up with that tar once the enemies are stuck with a fire spell, igniting everyone. And introducing an all-new level of tactics that I wish they would have inducted into the Elder Scrolls series much sooner. But the problem is, enemies can use these too, so you do have to watch your ass. Next up, let's talk about those classes. Now, there are the given mage, soldier, and rogue, so to speak. But, again, as I've said multiple times, it's not that cookie cutter. First off, there's the Dragon Knight, who's basically the offensive warrior. He has 3 perk trees that are Ardent Flame, which will let you keep enemies in range, Earth and Heart, which lets you use controlling spells to disrupt your enemies and fortify your allies, and Draconic Power, which fortifies your defense and lets you lock enemies down. Next is the Templar, which is the defensive warrior. His trees include Soul Spear, which lets you launch javelins of light at your enemies, which I'm assuming do massive damage to the undead, maybe even Daedric enemies. Then he has Sun Magic, which lets you burn and control enemies. And then Restoring Light, which lets you restore the health of yourself and your nearby allies. Then there is the Sorcerer, who's the spellcaster of the game. His trees are Dark Magic, which lets you control enemies, which is the basic illusion school of the Elder Scrolls series. Then there's the Summoner. I hope you don't need me to explain what that is. And the Stormcalling ability, which lets you basically control the destruction elemental spells. And finally, there is the Nightblade, which is the stealth, shadowy character. But no trees have been given for him. I will let you know as soon as I find out about that. Next up, just some miscellaneous, random facts I found out about this new upcoming game. There will be mounts, as in most MMORPGs, but they will be restricted to horses, which, I mean, makes sense. I'm not really sure what you could ride in this game that wouldn't try to kill you. But the cool thing up with the horses is the horses will level up with you as you feed them and take care of them. It will control how they progress. So you could get one just plated in armor that's probably pretty slow, or you could get one who can maybe carry more, just things of that nature. Next up, there's no dying system set for launch, so I'm assuming that'll basically mean while you're in a dungeon with some friends, if you die while in that dungeon, you'll probably just respawn at the beginning and have to play catch up. And next up, something that I was pretty interested in is disguises. Now, as you know from all the Elder Scrolls game, every enemy drops some form of loot, and sometimes they even drop their armor or weapons. Now, with disguises, you can take some of those specialized armors for specialized enemies and place it into a certain slot for your character, which forms it as a disguise. Now, I don't know what enemies will have what kind of disguises, but I'm assuming, say you kill a bandit and you get a particular armor for the bandits, and then you put it on as a disguise, you can probably just walk through their camp without having a worry in the world. That's basically it for this edition of Lock-On's Nerdy News. I'm really excited for this game. I can't wait. I've wanted to get into MMOs, but there just haven't been any that have really grabbed my interest. And I don't know, The Elder Scrolls has always been an obsession of mine. I love them. I love just about any Bethesda game, really. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's supposedly going to launch in early 2014. And I'll see you all on the battlefields. And as always, thanks for watching.